Welcome, everybody. Bob Stelton here, and look at who this is. The legend that is DJ Mighty Mouse, Demetrious Johnson. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
It is awesome to have you back here. It has been a long time since we've had a chance to speak. I know you're in town doing some things, but you got a fight coming up at the end of March. But for those people that aren't aware, it's not in the UFC.
No.
It's for one championship.
Yes, sir.
A trade was made, which, you know, I told you before, which was the oddest thing to read the headline. A trade in the sport of MMA. You're used to it in basketball, baseball, football, but seeing promotions work together and working out a trade, I got to be honest, and I said this before, so it's not because you're sitting here.
Yeah.
I feel like the UFC got the short end of the stick. You're one of the greatest ever to step in the cage. Joe Rogan gushes every time you step in the cage. And they said, yeah, we'll trade this guy.
Yeah.
Was there a part of you that wanted the UFC to fight to keep you there?
No.
Or tell me how that whole thing went down.
Yeah, obviously, you know, after my last competition against Henry Cejudo, came up short with a split decision.
Terrible decision.
And I had the opportunity to go compete over in Asia for Singapore, one championship. And I talked to my management, Malky and Abe Kawa, first round management. I said, hey, this is what I want to happen. Do you think you can make it happen? And the thing I love about Malky, he goes, I can get you released right now. Like, and this is like, you know, four weeks before I'm about to fight. I'm like, do you think I can ever get released? He goes, I can get released right now. And I'm like, I gotta fight. What are you talking about? So I told those guys after the fight, they're like, okay, we'll work on it. And then they were able to come up with some type of deal between one championship and the UFC, saying like, hey, we would, you know, we'll release Ben Askren if you would, you know, if you guys release Ben Askren, we'll release Demetrious Johnson. And like for me, I felt that the UFC was trying to get rid of the flyweight division even when I was a champion. So with that being said, it almost seemed like, you know, they wanted to make it happen. And, you know, at the end of the day, I was ready to move on, do something different. You know, there's a couple things the company was doing that I wasn't, you know, not okay with, I guess you could say. And, you know, I'm not on the board, you know, I can't say. But as an athlete of a company, and each time you hear about, you know, UFC going on, it's either somebody's throwing dollies through the bus, or this is going on, or people arguing on Twitter about who's going to fight who. So I was like, you know what, I'm ready to start a fresh start.
You know, I always felt, and you and I talked about this before, that it felt like, and listen, I love Chael Sonnen.
Yeah.
I love Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
I love listening to him because I think there's a humor to it, and they do promote their fights. But it felt like, and we talked about this, that every other fighter was trying to be sort of a copy of that. Like, oh, that's how I get attention, that's how I make money, that's how I sell pay-per-views, so I'm going to talk smack. And it felt like that was never part of your personality. Like, you just wanted to go in and compete, and I don't want to get into all this, hey, I'm gonna beat you down and you're a bum and blah, blah, blah. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. I mean, you go to the gym, you see a guy who's lifting weights and he's so jacked and he's on steroids. Yes, I want the same body physique, but I'm not going to go home and shoot steroids, right? So that's kind of the essential what's going on in North America, not just, you know, in the UFC, but possibly not as much in Bellator, but you got a lot of guys who are going out there and just running their mouth, trying to sell their fights to the public, and that's what North America wants, right? North America wants controversy, whether it's in athletic sports or whether it's in, you know, reality TV. That's what they yearn for. So for me, it was never part of my genetic makeup. You know, even when I wrestled in high school, I ran track, played basketball, football. I never was like, you see this, baby? I'm about to cross you up and land this dime. You know, I went out there and competed as an athlete, and whether I won or lost, I was always humble in defeat and victory. And I just didn't think it went well and went far in North America. I mean, I was a champion in 2012, and, you know, I was champion all the way to 2018, 11 consecutive title defenses, and, you know, still didn't stick on. So for me, it's like, you know, I'm with a company now. I'm with a fan base that they love martial arts. They love what, you know, I bring to the table. You know, me being humble and respectful and having some discipline and honor and integrity. They love that. So,
how tough is it to UFC? You're familiar with everybody. Maybe you're not dialed into every aspect of their game, but you know your opponent. You know who Henry Cejudo is. You know who Benavidez is. You know who all these guys are. Now you're going to a new promotion, a lot of new names. What is that like in terms of scouting, in terms of really understanding, this is what I'm up against?
So there's two parts of it. I'll give you the business side of it, and I give you the athlete side of it. So when I was an amateur, one of my favorite things about my amateur career is that, you know, my coach, Matt, will come to me and goes, hey, you're fighting in 4 weeks, and your opponent's name is Henry Sanchez. I'm like, okay, we know absolutely nothing about him. So as a martial artist, you go out there and you absolutely dissect what this person's doing. You're using true martial arts, right? To where you're going out there, you round one fight, you go out there, you're testing the distance, you're fighting the range, you're trying to pick up his tendencies, you're going through the book of how do you actually get into a confrontation with another athlete, essentially, right? To where when you're professional, you get the call like, hey, this is who you're fighting this guy. And they say you're fighting Joseph Benavidez. It's like, okay, I get 8 weeks to just dissect who this person is. I'm not a big fan of that because then you start to get away from what you do in martial arts, which is becoming the best version of yourself and how to solve a problem to where, okay, this is what this guy does, this is his deficiencies, so we'll just train on doing this, and then we'll go out there and do that. So going to one championship, to get back to your question, fighting athletes I never heard of, it's actually a breath of fresh air because I have no idea what they're going to do, and the content that's out on them, there's not a whole lot of content. Like, I'm about to fight Yuya Wakamatsu. I've been able to find maybe 3 fights of his.
Had you heard of him before this?
I have not heard of him before this. A lot of the athletes I haven't heard of. Jehei Estacio, I've heard of him. Adriano Moraes, I've heard of him. And then from those 2, those are the only ones I kind of really heard of. And I've heard of Team Lakai because Bibiano's always fighting him, which is one of my training partners. But it's a breath of fresh air. I don't have to, it's brand new guys, brand new styles. It's awesome. The business side of it is that, everybody in the world knows who I am if they're in mixed martial arts. So if they follow mixed martial arts. So me going over there fighting somebody who's, essentially not known, I have way more to lose than they do, right? So it's almost like Floyd Mayweather. He's just not going to fight somebody who's just, some guy who's just coming up trying to make it in the world, right? He's like, I have way more to lose than you do. I can retire from fighting and go just do seminars and make way more money. But if I go out there and compete, then, I could lose and you can make a name off me. But I'm far past that point. Like, I'm at the point now in my career where I'm just looking to have fun. I'm ready to go out there, put on great shows and great fights and see what happens.
And you just hit on what I wanted to ask you is, you come in with a reputation. You talk about MMA fans are educated. They know who you are, and they know if you're not the greatest ever, you're in that conversation. So you have a reputation to live up to, especially in front of a new audience, a new promotion. Is there still, as much as you're going to have fun, is there a little pressure to go, okay, I am the guy that, all the hype behind me, I need to live up to this hype and prove that I am the greatest?
Of course, 100%. I mean, I think that's for any athlete. But, I mean, you look in the greatest, all the greats fall. I mean, you look at Fedor Emelianenko. I mean, he at one point in mixed martial arts in the community, he was one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. He's had, a couple of bad fights. You look, in my eyes, I felt like Krokop was one of the greatest heavyweights. He's had some bad. He just won his fight. But it happens, Shogun Rua, Vanderlei Silva. It's just part of the sport. It's the nasty part of mixed martial arts, and it's just sports in general. I mean, you look at LeBron James. If he keeps on playing till he's 45, he gonna have some bad days. He definitely gonna have some bad days. People are like, he wasn't the greatest all time. So you got to find that time when it's the right time to stop. For me, I feel healthy. I feel good. And that's not my mindset. I'm ready to go out there and just compete and see what happens.
Well, as far as your health goes, do you feel like physically, like do you look at film of you 8 years ago and go, man, I can't do that anymore? Is there anything you can't do now that you could? Or because I've been watching you this whole time, you look the same to me.
Yeah.
You just look more composed. You look more just like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like physically you've changed.
Yeah, physically I don't think I changed. Obviously, I'm not 26, so I don't heal as fast as I do. Like, I see these guys, in one championship, they'll fight. Then 2 months later they're fighting again, and 2 months later they're fighting again. I'm like, I don't know how they do it. I just don't know how they do it. And for me, I think it's my training that beats up my body, because when I'm training, I'm always pushing my body the hardest. I mean, the fights, yeah, they're pretty tough, but it's literally the training, because, I train 8 weeks, and in my training camps, I'm not, around a whole bunch of yes men. It's like, okay, we're gonna get your heart rate to 188 beats per minute today. I want you doing this. I want you finishing this person. I got Matt, blah, 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 blah. And so it's a little bit different. A lot of guys who probably get to fight very consistently, they're probably just, I'm just gonna train to make my body feel good. Like, if I'm not feeling good today, I'm gonna relax, chill. I'm not gonna train tomorrow. I'm gonna go hit pads. I might do a little drill session. I might go do some hot yoga. Mine is more like, hey, I'm pushing my body to the limit. I'm trying to break my body down. That way, when I go, out to compete, I'm focused. I'm ready to go.
As far as the switch from UFC to one championship, is there any sour taste in your mouth the way things ended? Because again, I'm not saying this because you're sitting here. I say this all the time. I don't feel like you ever got your due. And I don't know if it was just because you're the smaller fighter and fans look to the bigger fighters for the one-punch knockout. but you were stopping fights. You were stopping people. You end on a controversial decision. It was a horse bleep decision, in my opinion. Do you wish you could have, like, all right, I wish I could have gotten that win and sort of rode out on top, or given sort of a hero's exit, if you will? I felt like you deserved better.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm not bitter whatsoever. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm happy where I'm at right now. And I think a lot of people who dwell on a lot of things that I've seen, and I made sure I wasn't going to be part of it, is that I've seen a lot of champions, they get very entangled in the love of being a champion, right? And like for me, I mean, if you go to my house now, you can walk in my house and there's not one picture of me doing mixed martial arts, not one ounce of my accomplishment. You have to go in my game room, my office, and in my closet to see those accomplishments. Like,
the belts?
To the belts, yeah. Like if you were to, like, when people come over to work, they're like, oh man, just nice house. What do you do for a living? I'm like, I create content. They're like, you create content? What does that mean? I'm like, oh, I stream, I play video games, I do that stuff. Because I don't like people knowing who I am, because when people know who you are, they treat you in a different level of, they treat you different, right?
Right.
So I'd rather somebody come to me like, oh, you know, if I was going on a date with a woman, right? And I was like, hey, what's going on, girl? Hey, what's up? Demetrious Johnson here, you know, Levittown Sex, you know, champion. You know, I got a nice car and all that stuff. You'd be like, oh, well, hey, what's going on? But if I was like, hey, I'm Demetrious Johnson. I work at McDonald's. I make, you know, $10.76 an hour. You would be like, okay, this is a decent human being. I'm gonna give him the time of day. So for me, that's how I like to try to present myself to the public. When, you know, even when I go to, you know, the Boys and Girls Club tonight, like, I want to just go like, hey, what's up, guys? You know, I'm Demetrious Johnson. What's up? What do you guys want to talk about? You know, this is how I got to where I'm at today. This is what I did, and you know, I hope I can inspire you guys. You guys have any questions? That's how I like to have my engagement go with my fans and even people who come work at my house.
A couple of quick things before we let you go. You leaving is not unique. We've seen it a lot now. A lot of fighters going to Bellator, some going to one championship, whether we're talking about Eddie Alvarez or Sage Northcutt.
Yep.
But you've got other defector, Rory McDonald, Benson Henderson. I mean, I can go down the list of fighters who have left the UFC, which even go back 3, 4, 5 years ago. You're going, well, this is the NFL. This is the NFL of MMA. Why would you do that? Are you surprised at the level of which fighters are leaving now?
No, not at all, because my personal opinion is that I think in North America that everybody is so fixated on, you know, North American products, UFC, Bellator, PFL, whatever it is. But there's a huge world out there that there's other organizations that will honestly treat their athletes a little better, offer a little bit something different, give the athletes a different opportunity to compete on different platforms. You know, for example, Giorgio Petrosian, which is one championship. He's a kickboxer, Super Series, and he just had his own competition, Petrosian Mania. So when you get in the UFC or Bellator, no, not even Bellator. If you get in the UFC, you are locked to the UFC. That's it. You can't do anything else. You can't do kickboxing, you can't do Muay Thai, can't do anything. Bellator, they just let one of their champions went over and fight Ryzen against Kyojo Horiguchi, Daniel Caldwell. One championship. You have the option. I'm sure if I went and told about like, hey, I want to do a Muay Thai fight, like I want to just see how well I do Muay Thai. They're like, perfect. We'll set you up with somebody. You do a Muay Thai fight. Or like I said, Giorgio Petrosian. He just fought in his own Petrosian Mania, which is a kickboxing series. So other athletes can go out and do something to make money wherever else they need to. I think a lot of athletes are starting to see that. You know, you had Dustin Poirier online on Twitter. He's like, release me if you're not gonna give me a fight. So that's not a good look. You know, you have, quote unquote, the NFL of mixed martial arts asking one of its top, in my personal opinion, number one contender, like, can you guys just release me? Because you ain't got no fight for me. I'm like 32 years old. I need some money. I need to keep on fighting. So it's not surprising. I think you're gonna see a lot more of it. I think you're gonna start seeing a lot more people test free market and see where they're gonna get the best bang for the buck for their services. And you're also gonna see athletes just going to mix it up a little bit different.
Is there anybody you wanted to fight that you never got a chance to fight? Because I felt like that was part of the problem, is you cleaned out the division. Now you're looking at rematches. Now you're looking at, well, you're going to have to gain 10 pounds and fight somebody at TJ Dillashaw, whatever. It felt like it was getting desperate because you were too dominant.
I felt the company was getting too desperate. I felt the company was getting too desperate to try to make some, quote unquote, money for that division. And for me, as an athlete and as a champion, I was focused on defending my belt and keep on getting better and honing my craft. That was what my own focus was, and take care of my family. And it will be the same focus here at One Championship. My main focus is obviously to compete carry myself like I've always have, be a great representative and ambassador for the brand of martial arts and one championship. And also, obviously I want to be a champion and go out there and, win the title. But focus on myself, carry myself, a great brand ambassador, my family, and that's it. Everything else, that's what they do. They're great at telling stories. They just came out of their piece on me, what drives me, what motivates me to fight. And just seeing all the comments and the feedback, all great responses. A lot of people are like, you've been in the UFC for how many years? Are they kidding me? I didn't even know your brother was schizophrenic. I didn't know all this stuff about you. Now I'm more emotionally invested into you because now I know a little bit more about your story.
Now, as far as you sort of talk about an end game, at some point we've seen fighters stay too long at the party.
Yeah, I ain't gonna
and not saying you're even close to that, but do you have a number in mind? Like, I don't want to fight past 35, 36, 40?
I said 35, but now I'm 32, so I'm gonna be 33 this year. So I give myself 5 years, From now. It all just, it's all predicated on my body, right? I had daydreams. I come to mat. I'm like, hey, I think I'm done. I think I'm done just because the training is so intense. Mm-hmm. The training is so intense. The fights are easy. Fighting is the easiest part of it because you go in there like, all right, 3 rounds, let's get it in. Uh-huh. But when you have to go to the gym every single day and push your body to that maximum peak, that's what I do. I push it. I don't go in there and I feel good. I'm just doing my thing. Like I'm pushing it, and that wears on your body, not mentally but physically. So I give myself 5 more years, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Last one before we let you go. We just saw George St. Pierre call it a career, and he talked about, there's a guy who's in peak condition, but he said, man, I just don't have the fire in me anymore, essentially.
Yes.
2 things. Are you going to know when that happens? Are you a guy that'll call it a day when you feel like, man, yeah, I'm in great shape and I can still win, but I'm not feeling it?
Yeah. And which other question?
Well, I was going to...
Okay.
Yeah,
so
this one.
I think with GSP, when he retired, I think GSP's accomplished everything an athlete can. He's got the money, right? Where a lot of athletes out there, they don't have that financial stability. So I think if you see a lot of athletes out there who have financial stability, that you see a lot more people retiring, even right now to this day, right? He's accomplished, 2-belt championship. Mm-hmm. So I think for him, he still has that fire, but he has a fire against one specific opponent. Mm-hmm. And that's Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? Yeah. There's no, in my opinion, there's no point in him going back fighting Tyron Woodley. There's no point in him going back and fighting Robert Whittaker. He's like, I already became a champion, but nobody's beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. I want to fight him. Right. So I think when they couldn't come to an agreement for him to be able to fight him, then that's when he was like, I think I'm done because that's something that I can build my name off of. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I think when it comes to the point where I'm like, I've accomplished everything I need to. Financially, I'm stable. I'm happy where I'm at financially. I think I'll call it quits. I'm done. I'm healthy. I can still run through you old folks. You young folks. But I don't need to anymore because I got to a place where I feel comfortable.
Now, last one is, I as soon as that happened, I had a bunch of people hitting me on Twitter. Bob, is he the greatest ever? Where would you put him? And I said, well, my top 3, no particular order, are John Jones, Demetrious Johnson, and George St. Pierre, with Anderson Silva being number 4. Yep. Take yourself out of the mix as a fan. Be a fan right now. Yeah, you can't put yourself. Give me your top 3.
Top 3.
Greatest ever.
Greatest ever. Okay, so it would probably be John Jones. Even speculative, all the things he's gone through, the picograms, all that good stuff. Then I'll probably throw in George St. Pierre because what he's done for the longevity that he's done and the level of competition he's done it, and being not having a wrestling background, having a fantastic time in a shot. And just what he's accomplished, 2-weight division champion. And then people don't, agree with me on this, but I'll give it to Gegard Mousasi. The reason why I say Gegard Mousasi because when he comes out, he can do everything. He is lazy, and I think he would admit it. He is lazy on the scene, but when he's on and he wants to go, he destroys everybody on the ground, stand up. He has great boxing, great Muay Thai, great grappling. He just literally destroyed Roy McDonald. Granted, he's a smaller guy, but Roy McDonald's a smaller guy that's a world champion. And they're pretty much the same size, kinda, but I always tell people are like, who's your greatest of all time? Gegard Mousasi. Like, he's never won a championship belt. He wasn't a champion in UFC. And I'm like, I don't care. This is my personal opinion. I like his skill set. I like what he brings to the table. Then if I say John Jones, like, he's a cheater. He uses steroids. I don't care. Steroids don't teach you how to throw a punch. They don't teach you how to throw an elbow. They don't teach you how to do certain things. Steroids don't teach you how to put yourself in the right position to be able to hit somebody. But once again, it's my personal opinion.
the opinion of maybe the greatest ever, Demetrious Johnson. March 31st, his debut with one championship. I can't wait, man. It's so good to have you back in
Thanks,
studio.
man. Appreciate it.
Don't be a stranger.
Hey, you know.